Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Carolyn Ward. I'm the CEO of the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation, and I'd like to welcome everyone this morning to an insider's report of our Trails and Views Forever program. I'm joined this morning by Jordan Calloway. She's our development officer with the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation, and she's going to be going over some of the Trails and Views Forever program that we have here at the foundation. I'd like to thank everyone out there so much for all your support. It is because of you that we've been able to launch this program. We are very excited about the work we're going to be able to do because of your support. As you all know, the Blue Ridge Parkway is one of the most visited units of the National Park Service, more visitors than Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon combined, and yet it receives a fraction of the budget of any one of those other parks. That gap in the needs versus what it actually gets to meet those needs is what the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation is all about. And because of you, we're able to help address some of those needs. The Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation's Trails and Forever program, Trails and Views Forever program, is new, and it's come into being because of this realization that we have all of these needs out there. And there's so many projects up and down the parkway that need to be accomplished. And we wanted to be able to do it in a thoughtful sort of long-term view. And so you'll hear a little bit about some of the projects that we'll be able to do with this program by looking at some of the things the foundation has been able to do in the past. We're gonna spend about 25 minutes together. And just a couple housekeeping things. We have lots of folks on the call today. We will try to get to as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation, but you'll receive a thank you email follow-up after this. And if there are questions that you had that did not get addressed during this presentation, please send us an email and we'll try to get you an answer as soon as we can. If you move your mouse over your screen, you'll see a menu come up down at the bottom, and there's a little Q&A down at the bottom of your screen. If you click that, you can submit a question during the presentation, and again, we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. Also down on the bottom, you'll see a little microphone on the bottom left, and if you're having trouble hearing any of the presentation, you can call directly in on a phone line. So once again, welcome to today's webinar. And Jordan, I'd like to turn it over to you to give us a little view of the inside about our Trails and Views Forever program. Jordan?
Great, thank you. Welcome everyone. Normally when I talk to people about the Parkway, I get to look them in the eye and shake their hand and talk about what the Parkway means to them. So this is just a different way of having a conversation. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the slides. So welcome. If you're taking the time to be with us today, then the Parkway means a lot to you. As you know, the Blue Ridge Parkway is a treasure, and you realize the inherent value of this national park. So thank you for taking the time to participate. Whether a new member of our community of stewards or a longtime partner, we thank you. Having trouble proceeding. There we go. We know that the Blue Ridge Parkway is worth protecting for future generations. The Blue Ridge Parkway has long been a part of our community for generations, and the mountains it carves through have been here for millions of years. The Blue Ridge Mountains are among the oldest in the world. As a national park that charges no admission fee, the Blue Ridge Parkway is free and available to all. The Blue Ridge Parkway is all of these things that are listed on this slide: a sanctuary, an escape, a source of pride. This is our national park. Whether you depend on the Blue Ridge Parkway for your weekly hike or a Sunday drive, and even for some visitors, it's the trip of a lifetime, it means a lot to different people. The Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation works as the primary fundraiser and trusted steward for the Blue Ridge Parkway. We've worked to support this majestic park for over 2 decades and have provided over $14 million of support. If you're listening, you're a part of that support, and we thank you. And we're working to create a better experience for people like the visitor in this slide. The Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation is introducing the Trails and Views Forever program to make a significant difference for our park. Through collaboration with partners and the support of all levels of donors, this new initiative will restore the Parkway's recreational assets. We are working with the National Park Service, to strategically address the many needs for our park. We feel that there is strength in numbers, and we welcome you to join us to make a significant difference for the Blue Ridge Parkway. The Parkway, as with all natural spaces, have been a saving grace for many of us in the last few months. While other areas may have been restricted, the open spaces and the trails on the Parkway have not. They have remained open. Some facilities may be currently closed, but our trails have been open and visitation has swelled. We've all sought the sense of calm that the Blue Ridge can bring, and our outdoor spaces are the perfect way to socially distance. These visitors have sought out the Parkway as an escape, but could not help but see the many needs that our park has. As our world is dealing with the current crisis, I remind you that the Blue Ridge Parkway was the product of a series of public works after the Great Depression. The basic idea of the Parkway may have sprung from the need for a park to join the Smokies and the Shenandoah, but the Blue Ridge Parkway is so much more. Men and women were put back to work thanks to the private contractors who bid on road construction and the civil employees who aided in its creation through groups like the WPA and the Civilian Conservation Corps. The original creators of the Blue Ridge Parkway were creating a journey. This was a perfectly designed landscape. You may not realize it when you visit the Parkway, but every turn and turn out was specially planned for your visit. It was intended to enjoy intimate glimpses, as well as a heroic panorama that looks out forever. This is one of my favorite photos. It's of Devil's Courthouse. You might recognize this view. And if you're a part of this webinar today, you share my enthusiasm for the Parkway. I feel very lucky personally to be a part of this organization. Sometimes you have to come back to reality though, and it's not all gorgeous views and perfectly maintained trails. The reality is that our park has a lot of needs. This massive park encompasses close to 100,000 acres and welcomes over 14 million visitors each year. And these visitors can't help but notice the damage that they see. We have decayed signs, broken picnic tables, eroded trails. It takes a lot of money to support this park, and unfortunately we can't stay ahead of these many needs. There's a $508 million deferred maintenance backlog. I know that's a hard number to get your head around, and a large percentage of that deferred maintenance deals with the road itself, which we can address. But what we can address are the different priorities that we've listed through Trails and Views Forever. You and I together can work to address the needs of the recreational areas. Our national parks receive 0.1% of our federal budget. This is why the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation exists, to help fill those gaps. And this is what we've done for the last 2 decades together. So we've had some great success with past projects. This is one visitor amenity shown here, the showers at Price Lake. And we've accomplished a lot together in the last 2 decades. But we realize as we meet with the National Park Service and we hear from our donors that these needs are increasing and that we need to make the Blue Ridge Parkway a better place for our visitors today and our visitors tomorrow. So we're working with the National Park Service to address what the priorities should be for the recreational spaces on the Blue Ridge Parkway. These are the priorities that we plan to address with the Trails and Views Forever program. The views, the overlooks. That's one of the first and foremost needs. The trails, so that you can better access, hike, the campgrounds, and the picnic areas. And part of those will also be better signage along the Parkway, as well as restroom facilities, which are unfortunately currently closed. So our goal is to work together and improve the shared recreational spaces on the Parkway. And how are we going to accomplish this? Well, we're going to do it like we always have. We're going to bring in the local communities, the gateway communities, talk to them about what the needs are. We're going to bring in volunteers, and we're going to work with partner groups. We know that there's other partner groups that have the same goals that we do. So we plan to work with them on the Trails and Views Forever. We've We've also already had tremendous support from local communities such as Henderson County here in North Carolina to support the Trails and Views Forever Fund. We welcome other communities to be a part of this fund as well. One of the most pressing needs that visitors have shared with us is the need to restore the overlooks, to protect the views that the original designers of the Blue Ridge Parkway worked so hard to create. We realize that many park visitors do not have the freedom to readily hike trails and scramble up waterfalls. They need to be able to pull up to an overlook and clearly see the view. The Blue Ridge Parkway was designed to highlight these views, and they should be accessible. We've already started this work through our Overlook restoration program. And this is a before and after photo. The before is actually the lower one and the after is the upper one. So the intention of Overlook restoration work is not to eradicate the landscape. It's not to totally clear the view, but rather to improve the view. And we work with natural resource officers to identify any natural species in the area. Say if there's a bird nesting in a tree, we're not going to cut that tree down. So this is all carefully done, carefully vetted work. So far, we've been able to accomplish this work thanks to the foundation's support of an air team. And we purchased this trailer with our donor dollars. The air team is the Arborist Incident Response Team. And what it is it's Blue Ridge Parkway employees and employees from other national parks around the country who've all been trained to work with this equipment and to manage these projects. And we fund these thanks to our donors. Here's a photo of the air team with the machinery that we purchased with donor dollars. So only so many overlooks could be cleared with the initial funds that we had available for overlook restoration. And we started looking at the many other needs of the parkway, campgrounds, picnic areas, trails. And we decided that we needed to come up with a strategic plan to address these many needs. Hopefully, if you've been on the parkway in recent weeks, you've seen these signs. We have these up on our donor boards where we can help bring in new donors, help bring in new supporters to the many needs of our park. Just as our Overlook work for Trails and Views Forever will build on the earlier work that we have created and on the strong relationships we have with Parkway partners, so will our trail work. We have 369 miles of trails on the Parkway. I'm not sure if people realize what a huge amount of work that is and what a huge amount of work it is to maintain. And luckily we have partner groups that are already hard at work on these trails, but they can't stay on top of the many needs. So we have in the past executed trail work on the Parkway through the support of North Carolina Youth Conservation Crews and ACE Crews, that's the American Conservation Experience Crew. This photo shows trail work at Craggy in 2017. These youth crews are reminiscent of the Civilian Conservation Corps and other groups that I talked about that built the Parkway. So this brings together able-bodied and creative individuals to support public works. These crews of young people come in and they work hard. The group on the left is at Rough Ridge, and the group on the right is at Moses Cone. I'm sure you recognize that. These people are trained and they work extremely hard on the trails, and it's an amazing opportunity for them. And we hope to continue to support this work through the Trails and Views Forever program. The needs continue though. On the left, you see an eroded trail at Richland Blossom. There's so much more that can be done. So we normally have a Parkway Workday every year, Project Parkway, where we open the season for the Parkway. And we get together with many other partner groups to work on this day. Unfortunately, due to COVID and our shortened season, we did not have that cleanup day this year. And we know that with the shortened season and less time to work on the Parkway, that the needs are going to be even greater after this year. So thank goodness we're introducing this new program because we'll be needed now more than ever. We do plan to continue to partner with groups like Carolina Mountain Club, who already have wonderful plans and projects in place and to support them as much as possible. We'll also continue to work with student groups. This is a student group on the lower right from UNC Asheville. We've worked with groups from Appalachian State. There's a lot of young people that want to help support this work. Here you can see a before and after at Craggy. The before is on the left, obviously. The after is on the right. So part of the reason that we do this trail work is to create a safe and accessible footpath for our visitors. We want to keep them on the path. When they're off the path, they trample the flora and fauna in the area. We can also achieve this not only through the trail work, but through better signage. So we're trying to make a safer and more accessible visit for our visitors. Another Parkway project that this fund will make possible is footbridges to create safe access for trails for Parkway visitors. This photo shows the Boone Fork Trail Bridge, which the foundation donors made possible in 2016 in collaboration with Friends of the Mountains to the Sea Trail and the state of North Carolina. So we see many future opportunities for collaboration with these groups. We plan to build on these types of earlier successes and fruitful partnerships to expand the Trails and Views Forever program. We plan to expand our volunteer program thanks to Trails and Views Forever. So this is many new opportunities for the Parkway Foundation. Here's another project to ease visitor access to the Trails and Views on the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is the High Meadow Bridge at the Blue Ridge Music Center, and we utilized an ACE crew for this project, and you can also see Blue Ridge Parkway employees working here. Everyone is pitching in and helping to make it a better experience for our visitors. I love this photo. It shows the ribbon cutting for the High Meadow Bridge. And this picture sort of perfectly encapsulates what we envision Trails and Views Forever to be. It is current visitors, current volunteers, making a difference for future generations. We also plan to address campground needs on the Parkway. We have 8 campground facilities and 3 backcountry campsites. As I said, for our Project Parkway Days that we've partnered with other groups in the past, we worked on campground cleanups. We want to make a bigger dent though, and in order to accomplish this, we need the Trails and Views Forever program. Here's another photo that shows before and after. You can see the broken asphalt. I believe this is at Mount Pisgah. And then you can see the after. So this type of project would be part of our Trails and Views Forever program. So I've gone back and forth and I've shown you some of our past projects and what we've accomplished in the past. In the past, we've accomplished more individual projects, and I hope it's clear to you that the Trails and Views Forever program is intended to be a comprehensive plan to strategically address the many needs of the Parkway. We'll also be working on picnic areas. We have 14 sites along the Blue Ridge Parkway. Picnicking has long been associated with the Motor Road, and with few dining establishments along the Parkway, it's a wonderful way to be able to stretch out your journey and enjoy your journey, and it's especially important for families. So we need these to be safe and welcoming spaces. On the top left, you can see a fire ring that's obviously decayed. On the lower right, you can see a picnic table that the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation replaced at Downton Park. And here's another shot of a replaced picnic table. The ability to have a safe, welcoming experience at a Parkway picnic area allows visitors to have a lasting and memorable journey on the Parkway. These visits help support the economy and surrounding Parkway communities. The Blue Ridge Parkway spurs $1 billion in spending in gateway communities and supports over 15,000 jobs. So not only is the Parkway critical to our need for outdoor recreation, but it's critical to our economy. How will we address these needs? As I've mentioned, we'll build on existing relationships with Parkway partners and expand our volunteer program. We're meeting with the park to strategically approach these many needs. We want to provide significant improvements for our national park. Of course, we'd like to hear from you as well, so I hope you have an opportunity to ask us questions and follow up with us. We welcome you to join us as a volunteer. We welcome you to make a donation or to serve as an ambassador for the Parkway. When you talk to people in your community, make sure they realize the many needs that the Blue Ridge Parkway has. As I mentioned before, we have signs along the Parkway that show the Trails and Views Forever program. We're also listing the names of our founding funders. These are some donors that have made a significant contribution to the Trails and Views Forever program. And many of them have also made this gift in memory or in honor of a loved one. And so that's why their names are listed a little bit differently. And our Trails and Views Forever founding funders are also eligible for a special edition patch, which our staff designed and created, and it's only available through this program. So I welcome you to join us. We're doing the Trails and Views Forever program to honor the original vision of the creators of the Parkway, to better the experience for today's visitors, and to leave a better park for tomorrow. So thank you so much for giving us the time to share this with you today. My contact information, and you have Carolyn's contact information, and we'd love to hear from you.
Jordan, thank you so much for giving an overview of our Trails and Views Forever program. We launched this in fall of 2019, and we did it with a generous anonymous matching gift challenge of $300,000. And we have so many of you out there that have helped us to be able to get very close to reaching that match. We have just a few more months to do that, and thank you all so much for all your help. It'll give us a really great kickstart to be able to launch this campaign in great fashion. We have a goal of $3 million. That will allow us over about 8 to 10 years to make some significant differences on the Parkway, give us an opportunity to do some long-range planning and preparation for work so that the park and volunteers and other organizations that will help make this possible can do the planning necessary to make these projects come to life. So we've had lots of questions that have been submitted, and we're going to address a couple of them now, and I will honor the time frame. We will stop at 11:30. And again, you'll receive a thank you email that will come after the webinar tomorrow, and it will have our email addresses. And if there are additional questions that we did not get to, please feel free to submit them, and we'll get back to each one of you as we can. So one of the questions that we had was, what is the greatest threat to the Blue Ridge Parkway, both short-term and long-term? And I'll take that one, Jordan. I really think that it's the same answer for both. Because, as Jordan mentioned, because we have been so long in this backlog deferred maintenance, we have over $500 million of backlog deferred maintenance needs on the Parkway. And when your budget barely keeps up with the operation needs each year, then that backlog deferred maintenance need simply grows. I mean, think about having an old house. It needs painting and it needs work once in a while. Trails erode over time when you have lots of rain and lots of use, as our trails often do here in the mountains. That use over time continues to degrade, and the longer you go from addressing those basic needs, then when you finally can get to working on the project, it's so much more costly and takes so much more time. So that backlog deferred maintenance needs really is the short-term major problem that the Parkway faces, and the long-term. If we don't address some of these things, over time, it will become so much more costly that often fixing it no longer becomes a viable option. So thank you for that question. And in a related question, we had someone ask about who assists in designing the trail maintenance solutions. And I'll take that one as well. You know, one of the things Jordan mentioned, 369 miles of trails, it's 3% of the entire National Park Service trail system. And there is not a dedicated trail crew on the Parkway, if you can believe that. And so how the trails get fixed is volunteer groups, other partner organizations, the Friends, Carolina Mountain Club, Friends of the Mountains to Sea Trail. There's lots of groups out there that help do that work in addition to just community volunteers. And there is not a core group of Park Service employees at our park that is dedicated to overseeing that work. And so one of the things we want to try to help do is be able to give the park some assistance in pulling all of those resources together and doing a long-term sort of look at trail work. And so we work very closely with the park to try to come up with the greatest needs and how organizations can come together and help. We had a question about visitation and campgrounds. Jordan, one of our listeners wants to know, said the campgrounds are in terrible shape. And is there any plan for campground work that's going to happen with the Trails and Views Forever program?
Yes, for sure. Currently, we're dealing with the shortened season, so we realize, just as you said, with putting off work, that we'll have an even greater need. But yes, campgrounds are one of the 4 priorities for the Trails and Views Forever program.
Fabulous. One of the questions talks about the use in the park right now based on COVID, and do we have any idea about when visitor centers or restrooms might open?
We are awaiting further guidance on those. As we've said, the open spaces have remained open, but we would like to remind people to follow the pack in, pack out, leave no trace. And that means take anything you take in with you, take it back out. But yes, we are eagerly awaiting more information about the reopening of facilities. And this will affect future years, unfortunately. So we'll definitely need the Trails and Views Forever program.
And in one of the final questions, we had someone, several people actually, that have asked about volunteer opportunities, and that they understand that right now, perhaps you're not allowed to volunteer in the park.
You are not. Unfortunately, there is not any volunteer program allowed at this time, but we hope to get volunteers in there as soon as it's safely possible. We will continue to have annual work days on the Parkway. And as I said, we're expanding our volunteer program with the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation. So we'd love to get your contact information if there's a way we can have you be a part of our crew in the future.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jordan. And thanks to everyone out there for participating in the Foundation's Insider Report about our Trails and Views Forever program. This has been recorded, and we will be sending that out for those of you that would like to share it with others to talk about the program that we have here. And once again, thank you all so much as members of the community of stewards for helping to make everything possible that we can do in partnership with the park to try to help make a difference today and tomorrow. Thank you all so much, and I hope to see you on the Parkway one day soon. Bye.